But good afternoon to everyone joining us today. My name is Samantha Bowers. I'm the consultant for continuing education at the State Library of Iowa. If you don't know me, pleased to meet you. I am joined by a couple of my state library colleagues today, Brenda Hall, who's our program director here, and Scott Dermott, who handles a couple of our different programs, will be on to chime in as needed as well. And then we are joined by a couple of very special guests today, Michelle Graber and Christy Johnson, both of the Iowa Secretary of State Department, a program called Safe at Home. And so we're here today to learn a little bit more about the Safe at Home program, what it means for your patrons and your library, and some of the ways that you can engage those types of patrons in library services. So Michelle, at this point, I may ask you to head to the display settings on your PowerPoint there up at the top. And you should have an option to swap presenter and slideshow view. There we go. So right now we are seeing your notes screen.
Oh, okay.
So we'll want to see your slideshow. If you want, either maybe stop your share and start over again. And share the slideshow view.
Okay, let's see. I've got it on slideshow.
The joys of Zoom. Yes, yeah, I've been doing technology tests with all our iLog presenters this week, and I feel like I have lived in Zoom even more than normal. There we go.
How's
That's
that?
looking great. Perfect. Thank you. So I will turn it over to you and to Christy, who will chime in as needed to tell us a little bit about the Safe at Home program. Thanks for being with us today.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for allowing us to talk about our program, Safe at Home. My name is Michelle, and I administer the Safe at Home program through the Iowa Secretary of State's office. I've been in this position since July of 2023. Previously, I worked in the elections department, and then before that, I worked for the Iowa DOT in Ankeny as a driver examiner. So what is Safe at Home? It is an address confidentiality program that serves over 1,300 survivors of domestic violence, sexual abuse, trafficking, stalking, and assault. We provide a legal substitute address, mail forwarding service, and confidential voter registration and absentee voting through the program. So we are part of the National Association of Address Confidentiality Program, which we call NACAP, and that includes about 42 other states. Now, the reason we administer the Safe at Home program through the Secretary of State's office is because of the voting component, as the Secretary of State is the State Commissioner of Elections, and we have access to the statewide voter election system. Now, throughout the states, the programs do differ in services and how applications are accepted. But we continually share practices and challenges with other states to make our program better. The Safe at Home address is a fictitious address. Initiating the program, we worked closely with the post office to create this substitute address. The address is the same for all participants except for the apartment number. The apartment number is unique to each household. If some members do not live in the household, let's say they're off to college, we can link the accounts so they share the same apartment number. Many correspondence mailed to the participant, or any correspondence mailed to the participant must have the apartment number on it to distinguish between common names or names that are similar. Ideally, mailed to the participant should include the entire address, which we have as 899 East 12th Street, and then the apartment, and then we have P.O. Box 959, Des Moines, Iowa 50304. If that does not fit in the system, we do ideally ask that they have the P.O. box and the apartment number for the mailing address. Our mail forwarding service, we pick up the mail at 8 every morning, Monday through Friday. Mail is processed the same day, and we do not go any longer than 3 days without processing the mail, including holidays. But there is a 5 to 7 day delay in receiving mail. If anything is time sensitive, please reach out to the client so they can notify us. If the mail comes in as priority, we send it out to the participant as priority. We forward all first-class mail, legal and certified mail, as well as prescriptions, government packages. Other packages are returned to the sender, and magazines are donated to a local charity. We forward insurance and healthcare-related mail and service processing. If the participant lists their offender on the application, we would contact them if mail is from or addressed to the offender, so there are no surprises when they open their mail. We will hold mail for 10 days if the mail is returned, and it is the participant's responsibility to update their address when they move. Participants complete a voter registration and absentee ballot request forms through the Safe at Home program, not through the county auditor's office. When we enter the voter information into the database system, it assigns a number for the participant so their name will not appear anywhere. At no time does a county auditor know the name of a Safe at Home voter, nor is their name on any voter list. Absentee voting. The absentee ballot requests are good for one full calendar year, so that means a new one is required each year. By the participant's physical address, we will verify the precinct and split to request the correct ballot for them. We are a liaison with participating auditors. Election day registration is not safe. Their information would become public. We request a ballot from the county. The county sends it to us. We repackage the ballot and send it to the participant. And then the participant sends it back to us. We repackage it and send it to the county auditor. And again, at no time does the county auditor know the name of the Safe at Home voter. The participant is not allowed to bring the ballot to our office or drop it off at the county auditor's office. It's just not a safe option. So there are several misconceptions about the Safe at Home program. When a situation arises, we refer new and established participants to call center advocates for resources. We are not counselors. We are not a witness protection program. We're not a shelter or rental assistance. We are not able to redact previous records or capable of shielding participants from legal obligations. However, divorced and separated parents with custody arrangements can still enroll in Safe at Home. This can be done without revealing a person's actual address. Our enrollment is for 4 years. The expiration date is on the card, and the participant can renew as many times as they feel necessary. So how to apply for Safe at Home or POP. So I want to talk about POP just to give an understanding. So POP stands for Protect Our Protectors, which is part of the Safe at Home. This is reserved for prosecuting attorneys, judges, and law enforcement, as well as their families. So they are a part of the confidentiality program too. So who can apply for the Safe at Home? There are two requirements. They must be a resident of Iowa and any adult survivor of domestic violence, sexual abuse, trafficking, stalking, or assault. We do not require any proof of victimization. Participants can fill out the application or an advocate can. Participants must sign in ink. There's no electronic signatures allowed, and initial the back of the application. Anyone in the household can apply, anyone 18 or older. An application can be mailed or emailed. We do accept fax, but it's not in a secure location, so we would ask to be notified prior to sending it by fax. So this is a copy, the front page of our application. Please note that a phone number or an email address is required. We need a way to contact the participants. If they are homeless, we do ask for the location that they sleep most often. Dependent section, that is for under 18. Anyone 18 or older must complete a separate application. Reason being is they cannot vote as a dependent. Each household would have the same apartment number, or if they live elsewhere, we can link the account. This is the back of the application, and the statements are actual Iowa codes we turned into statements, and each statement must be initialed by the participant. And at the bottom where it says signature, again, it must be an ink signature. So the application is usually processed the same day that it is received. Most common reasons that we would send the application back is missing the initials on the back of the application, or no physical address was listed. Once we do process the application, we mail out a packet which gives them information about the program and also participation cards. All dependents will receive their own card also. If there is an urgent need, the Safe at Home address can be provided the same day. So to know if someone is a participant, they would have their participant card, and you can also call the Safe at Home office. You can email or call us, and we'll call you back if you email, and we can verify their participation in the program. Now, we do tell the participants that we do protect their physical address, but their participation in the program is not confidential. This is a copy of the participant card. As you can see, it shows the participant's name, date of birth, expiration date, and then their Safe at Home address. The back of the card is a short version of the Iowa Code 9E, which regulates the Safe at Home program. And it's got our phone number on there. So where can the address be used? All public and private entities within the state of Iowa are required to accept the Safe at Home address. This includes, but is not limited to, the city, county, and state offices, such as city clerks, county treasurers, schools, law enforcement, and the Department of Education, as well as private organizations such as banking institutions, utility companies, and reward programs. So how do you know if a participant is still in the program? So we do not notify public or private organizations when a participant is terminated or has graduated from our program. The one indicator would be if you had received mail that had returned to sender on it. That usually means that participant is no longer in our program. Or you can also call, and then we will verify the termination. So in cases where the participant must live in a certain district to receive services, we request that you send a written request on official letterhead to the Safe at Home staff. The request can be mailed or emailed, and we will confirm verbally with a yes or no. So utilities. We advise the participants that a utility company or that utility companies will need their physical address for service calls. The participant must tell the companies that they are a Safe at Home participant and that their information cannot be made public and to keep their residential address confidential. Usually the utility company will put in safeguards in place, such as password protection or PIN numbers. And the utility company will use the Safe at Home address for all billing and record purposes. Mail forwarding. So when a individual becomes a participant, we ask that they do not put in a mail forwarding at the post office with their current address, because that would create a loop and they just wouldn't be receiving their mail. Now, they can put in a mail forwarding if they had moved from and then used their former address to their Safe at Home address, but not their current one. So for real estate, we cannot protect a participant's address when purchasing real estate. We advise them to contact an attorney to set up a trust or an LLC to purchase the real estate. If the participant already owns a home, we advise them to contact the county assessor or the county recorder to remove their information from the public-facing website. So Safe at Home is in the Secretary of State's office, which is well known. It is not safe for the participant to come into the office. We ask the participant to call us or email us with questions, and mail cannot be picked up at the Safe at Home office either. So we have lots of material. We have brochures, booklets, and other information that can be acquired. These materials can be accessed and printed from our website. And the website is Safe at Home, one word, at sos.iowa.gov. You can also call us and we will send the materials to you. Now I want to point out the booklet that we have, Someone You Know Needs Help. Now that booklet is a great tool as it lists victim service programs in the state of Iowa. So here's our contact information, our number, my email address, and then the general email. Just please contact us if you have any questions or you would like any material sent to you. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Thanks so much, Michelle. I think at this point, I'd invite Brenda maybe to hop on here um, and kind of go through a couple of things that we see specifically as it relates to libraries. And I think one of the things that we want to call out is, I can't remember the slide number. I'm sorry, I forgot to note it, but noting how to communicate with your office regarding someone's jurisdiction, the official letterhead, and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So Brenda, at this point, I will turn it over to you to chime in with what you see as some key takeaways for libraries here. And then, yes, I'm sure folks have questions after learning a bit about this. And so we'd invite you to put those into chat. If you feel like it's going to take too long to explain in chat, we're a small enough crew here today. I can also allow participants to speak. Send me a message if you want microphone rights, and we can handle things that way as well.
Okay. You want me to go ahead and stop sharing my screen?
That'd be fine. Yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay.
So thank you, Sam. Thank you, Michelle. So this is just a really great program, and I'm glad that we could present on it today. There are a couple of things for libraries to consider when they're creating library accounts for safe at home participants that we've talked about leading up to the webinar today. On that card, it is a Des Moines address. So you can code them in a couple of ways. One way, if you put them in as open access, you can do that because it's a Des Moines address on there. But something to consider is that they may not be living in Des Moines. And when you code them as open access, they won't have access to services meant for your patrons. So things like bridges, if you subscribe to Hoopla, if you have hotspots or laptops for checkout, a lot of times those things are restricted to just your patrons. If you code them as a patron, they will have a full range of your services, but they may not live within your exact service area. So reaching out to Safe at Home, probably the best way to do it is to confirm their city of residence. But like they said, they do want something on letterhead requesting that information, and they'll just confirm or deny whether they live within your service area so that you're sure that you're coding them correctly as open access or as patron. But it's up to you to determine the best way for your library how to handle the program. One of the things that I would really suggest is having a procedural manual. We know that turnover in libraries happens, or that somebody will come in at 7 o'clock on a Thursday night, and you may have a newer staff member on the desk. So some place for that staff member to go when they have questions about how to handle an account or something along those lines. So I would highly suggest adding this to your procedure manual if you've got one, and if you don't, it would be a great time to get one started. I think Sam, that really is the information that I wanted to share about library cards and kind of those considerations with open access or patron status.
And we did have one question in the chat. The website for the benefit of the recording is safeathome, all one word, .iowa.gov. So you can sign in there for more information or refer your patrons there for more information. Michelle, could you maybe speak just briefly to what are some of your if you're a library person working the front desk and someone turns up with the safe at home card, how can you encourage us, and maybe more people will be putting questions in the chat here too, but what are some best practices then for interacting with that person, or how would you train staff to interact with that person?
Well, if you don't mind, Christy is on, and I would like Christy to answer that for me.
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest complaint or concern that we hear from participants is that when they run into somebody who is unfamiliar with the program, then they ask a lot of questions. And so my biggest recommendation would be if they say that they're safe at home, a safe at home participant, and they're trying to use this Des Moines address, to take that card, look at it, see if it has our phone number on it. It should, it's on the back side. If you have questions, call us and ask those questions. Never ask them, questions that are like, why are you in this program? What exactly is the reasoning for it? They're not equipped to answer those questions, and they feel uncomfortable to do so and a lot of times. And so if they get questions like, well, why are you in this program, or what is this, a lot of times they'll just say, oh, never mind, I don't really want to use this service, it's okay, and they'll walk away. And then they'll call us and then try to work backwards to go and get those services. So at that point, when a participant calls us, we'll reach out to you, explain what the program is, and encourage that individual to come back, which a lot of times they do, but sometimes they don't. So just to, look at that information that they're providing you, and don't really question why they're in that program, and ask those kinds of questions, because once they're uncomfortable, a lot of times they do leave.
That's a great point. We did just have another question rolling through chat here as well. If a library policy requires a photo ID, may we ask for a photo ID?
Yes. So the only thing that our program covers is the address. And so their photo ID should have that safe at home address on it and not their actual physical address. So they should still have a driver's license or a non-operator ID that has that photo on it with that safe at home address. Now, if they say that they haven't updated that and it has their physical address on it or a previous address, maybe just reassure them that you're not taking it to look at the address, but just the photo, and work through those concerns with them. But you should be able to require any other requirements that you have, such as that photo ID.
Absolutely. Brenda, maybe you addressed this in your portion. I was a little sidetracked scrolling through chat, but when it comes to things like bridges or Hoopla or online resources that may be limited based on where a borrower lives, how should a library handle that?
So they have the option of making somebody a patron. So each library should choose how they want to handle if it's as open access or as patron. But ultimately the best thing that they could do is then reach out to Safe at Home with that letterhead via either a letter or an email, asking to confirm that they are within that library's service population for a patron card. So, so to get all of those services, the patron or the, bridges and anything specific for patrons, they need to be listed as a patron status. They can opt for that, or they can also reach out to Safe at Home to confirm that and update the account.
Absolutely. And I'll just add to that, when we get a request like that, whether it's via email or on an official letterhead, if you include your direct phone number, just be prepared that we'll call your general library line just to make sure that we are calling the library. So that's something that kind of throws people off at some points, mostly in the schools, but that's just something that we like to let you know, that we will call that general line instead of your direct line. And then it might take us a little while to get back to you, because we do always reach out to the participant to make sure that they are working with the individual or the organization that's requesting us to confirm that they live within your district. So if it takes us a day or so to get in contact with that participant, just know that that's why there's a little bit of a delay, but usually it's pretty quick.
And also just to reiterate, if a library does need to do something like send an overdue notice or attempt to collect a fine or something like this, all of that mail would take that additional 5 to 7 days. So maybe bear that in mind as you're working with these patrons. We had 2 questions here related to timing of participation in the program. We've had patrons who've been part of the program for many years. I was thinking it was for a temporary period of time. And then a related question, can they renew? So I think if I invite you to confirm, Michelle, but I think you said it's a 4-year initial enrollment with options to renew beyond that.
That is correct. They can renew as many times as they feel necessary.
All right. And then let me read through this question here. Would it be more beneficial for one person, a library staff person, to add program members for discretion, or would knowledge be power in this case, so all employees know the program and know what to do?
I would say, knowledge is power in this instance, because if that individual is coming back and they're working with a different person every time they're renewing something, or they have a question, or in any case, if they need something, they know what the program is. And so they're not having to share that card again, or they're not having to explain the program. So I think just having the awareness of the program for all those working in the library would be very beneficial. Now, if you have one key person that's the one to decide how you're going to code it, whether they're patron or open access, I think that would be up to your discretion. But just the knowledge of the program overall for all in the library would be beneficial. And not only from the sense of they might run into this individual at the library, but they might know somebody or be somebody who could benefit from the program as well. So the more people who know about the program, the more effective it is, and the more widespread it is, to help those participants who do need the program.
I agree completely. And I mean, those working in libraries know the scenario well, that the crisis or the strange question never comes during the director's desk hours, right? The strange questions always roll in at 6:45 on a Tuesday night when your volunteer closer or whoever it is there. So I think
Exactly.
having this, and like Brenda mentioned at the top of her presentation, written into your procedure manuals and training your staff on it is going to be very important. Okay, now here comes a question from a library that I happen to know is in a more rural area of our state. I know we talked about in preparing for this webinar as well, but are we able to ask if they are rural residents or residents of our city? So this might flow to Scott or Brenda, I'm not sure, but as we talk about that issue, distinction between rural county and city residents, how does that play out? Do we have a sense of that?
I think this would be one of those things that you once again would verify with Safe at Home. Safe at Home, correct me if I'm wrong on that, but they would we don't want to be asking them questions at the desk when we're creating the account about where and how they live. The point of the program is that they show this card and that person is accepting that and saying, yes, let me go ahead and create an account for you. And the things that we have to verify so that we have it coded correctly, then it's on the library staff. And maybe you designate one person who is your point of contact with Safe at Home. Then those people, your staff member would contact Safe at Home to ask them to confirm um, that style of question. Christy, Michelle, you're able to confirm if somebody is rural?
We've only ran into it where we're confirming whether or not somebody lives within the library district. We actually haven't ran into this at this point as of now, knock on wood. But I know that if we run into something like this, we would probably work with that library individually to see how important is it that you know where they live. Just because the more we narrow it down, the more information that librarian would have, or that library person would have, on where this individual is living. And if you're in a small town, it might be that you know who that offender is, or if that information gets back to the participant, it might make them very uncomfortable. And so we try to limit what information we're giving, but we also are very open to working with different organizations and businesses. So I don't think that fully answers your question, but we would definitely work with whoever it is that is asking that question at that time to see, would it really narrow it down? Are there only like 3 houses on this street that you're looking at? That kind of stuff.
And I just want to say, if this is because of open access that you would ask them this question, that from our perspective, it doesn't matter. If you want to treat this patron as open access, it really does not matter where they live as far as open access is concerned. So that I think could solve that question, whether they're rural or in town or not, if you're trying to do it for open access. So as far as open access is concerned, we're not going to try to verify where the patron lives. It's if you classify them as open access at your library, we'll accept that.
And it's also within your right to code them as a patron as well. I think the state library has recognized that this is a gray area with the way that you create accounts. So think about what works best for you, your library, and your community, and the nature of this program, and then realize though that you can work with Safe at Home to verify, to make sure that you've got it exactly correct. But it is also your choice. In our opinion, you can choose patron or open access. They'll have more service if you select patron. So I think a lot of libraries have gone that route, so that they do have access to bridges and, you know, your patron specific benefits that you offer. But you always have a way of verifying that. Oh, Sam, I think
We have kind of an in-depth question here related to sort of moving between library districts. And I'm again wondering, Brenda, if this comes back to your gray area statement of recognizing it's not 100% ideal, but in this situation, we recognize, you know, these patrons have gone through a lot in life. We're trying to do our best to support them and get them connected to the resources they need. Um, so I think the question boils down to, is the residency confirmed by zip code? We have a few city residents that may have the city zip code, but are in another library's district.
Yeah, I
Does
can
that
take that
question
one.
make sense? Sure.
I think so. So when we confirm that an individual lives within a district or a county, we are looking at the full address. We do have access to the full address of where the actual participant is residing, as well as any mailing address that they have. But we would look at the whole address and see where they are. If we have questions of what the library district looks like and who's qualified to be a patron at your location, we would ask you that. The same is true for school districts where, you know, it looks a little gray on our side, but we'll call and just work through where exactly does this city or where does your boundary lines end and begin. And so we are using the entire address when we're determining this, and without giving you any information that's unnecessary of where the actual participant lives, we will work with you to determine whether or not they're in the correct district.
Fabulous. And I do apologize. I know it seems like some of these questions have gotten way down into the weeds. So if you feel like we haven't totally answered your question, I know you can reach out to Michelle or Christy on the Safe at Home side, and to a state library staffer as well if you feel like this has not gotten resolved for you, because there are certainly complex situations here that that could be difficult for your library, for your patrons, for whomever. But I haven't seen any other questions come through in the chat here just yet. I'll keep an eye on that, but any kind of closing thoughts if we head into our sort of wrap up here from anybody?
I would just say thank you for learning more about Safe at Home. It's a program that's very near and dear to both Michelle and my heart. And so if you have any questions or if you run into one of those unique situations with a client or a participant, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We have an email address and a phone number. We are open Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30, but we are checking that email throughout the weekend. So if it's an emergency, we'll try and get back to you in a timely manner, even if it is on the weekend. Never going more than 3 days, even on the holidays where the state is closed for 4 or 5 days. We're always in the office checking voicemails, emails, and forwarding on that mail. So just thank you so much for learning more about it, and definitely reach out if you have any questions at all.
Fabulous. I know when we first were approached about doing a webinar on this topic, I thought, oh, this will be something that the Secretary of State's wants, our library platform to just kind of promote and get people involved in. And then when we had an exploratory call about this, it was like, actually, no, this is a really interesting question for libraries. And so I'm thankful to you all as well for taking your time to sort of present to us what this is all about and how we can respectfully and effectively engage patrons in our districts who are on this, enrolled in this program with you all. And my extra thanks to Brenda Hall for taking time out of her busy schedule today to kind of help advise on some of these questions, and to Scott Dermont as well for being on board to answer questions. I think there's been a couple comments in the chat that this is an amazing program, and we're very appreciative of your hard work for this. And so we do thank you all for your hard work, including on those weekends and holidays. We know that that's much needed and very influential work across our state. So thanks to everyone for being here today. Do reach out if you have additional questions that weren't answered. My thanks to Michelle and Christy and the whole Safe at Home team for their time today, and we will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.